Servus and welcome to another episode of the Pro Hockey Pod, episode 86. For those watching on YouTube, you'll notice different background. So I'm back in Germany now. I just got back here a couple days ago. Had a good summer, saw a lot of family, a lot of friends. Still was able to put out some episodes, but I didn't want to interrupt so many people during the summer. That's kind of their downtime from the hockey season. So now that we're back, training camps are starting over here in Europe, so we're going to get into it. And funny enough, I did one of these way back, probably 2 years ago, and it's been on my radar for a while. This next guest, I've been trying to connect with him, but we're both just so darn busy that we could never connect on our schedules. But now he's here. Happy to have him on. This week we have an agent on. So as I mentioned, I had an agent on way back 2 years ago, and now we have another one from another agency. He created it himself along with a colleague, and I'm very curious to talk to him, how he got into it, kind of how their agency works, and how they are with placing players, the kind of qualities they have about their company, etc. So without further ado, welcome to the Pro Hockey Pod, Marc Langbein.
Hey, thanks for having me here. I mean, you said it almost like even maybe longer than 2 years. Like right away when you started, we started talking about it, and at the time, I feel I was too busy sometimes, and you have been too busy with your job. But I'm finally glad that we made it today.
Yeah, me too. So finally that we got time for this, we're gonna dive into everything. So first, I always start off nice and easy with my guests. So like, you're obviously from Germany. Where did you grow up? Where's home for you? And like, maybe what's your first childhood memory of living there?
Basically, I grew up in close to Bietigheim, where the Steelers are from. So that's where I started to play hockey in 90. So quite a long time ago. And that's how I got into hockey, basically. And that's where I grew up. And I got into the agency business like in 2018. And I started the agency basically by accident. My former boss, he asked me if I can help his son to play in the United States. And so I was starting to reach out to the first team, and basically it started with like 18,000 euros tuition or $18,000, and then I got the first team down to 1,500. And so I felt like, hey, maybe there's a challenge to get the kid over for free. And that's how I got into it. The next team was have been the El Paso Rhinos in the Western States Hockey League, and then I got Tim Hefner over, which was my first player to together with Carlo Witter. Both guys are from Bietigheim. Funny wise, Carlo is now our youngest agency in the agency after he quit hockey. So almost like close to 7 years ago. So it's kind of an interesting story.
Yeah, it sounds obviously like it. And, we were talking about it off camera too. So obviously we're going to get more into detail about it in a second. But I kind of want to go back to like kind of your childhood growing up there. So you mentioned you obviously grew up in the Bietigheim area, a team that I was actually my first team that I worked for when I was done playing back when, or now that they're back in the Del 2, I should say. So they were a DLT team then and now back. And like, was that the kind of the team you maybe grew up following? And like, I'm always curious for like someone like yourself who's German, like, the first sport over here is obviously football, or in North America, as we say, soccer. So, like, what kind of drew you to the sport of hockey?
I mean, the first thing is like when I was a kid, like I wanted to play soccer. That was the first thing, and then a buddy took me out to play to skate a little bit in Bietigheim, and we went a couple of times there. And then I always saw these kids playing hockey, and I was really much into it. The only thing what I knew when I was a little child, I knew that the sport is really expensive. And then I was running into a guy, and I asked him. It was a father of one of my teammates later. And he said, like, Mark, don't worry. I mean, we convince your mom and your dad that you can play hockey. You just go on the ice and skate, and we do the rest. And I mean, my mom was a single mom. She raised me. So she was like unexpectedly coming to the ring and didn't found me out of the ring to catch me after skating. And then I was already on the ice, and that's when it started. I was like 10 years old. And so I got to Bietigheim. That's how I got into hockey. And I have great memories back in these days. I mean, we played with the wooden sticks compared to today. Like hockey was literally way less expensive than it is nowadays. And in Germany, at that time, like you didn't have the summer skates. You had to go to Czechia to skate in the summer. And so my big dream was to become a professional hockey player, but it didn't went out that way. So I quit hockey when I was around 1920 when I played in the Junioren Bundesliga in Germany, and I didn't make it to pro hockey level. And so that's basically how I went into hockey. And I have great memories and still great friendships with a lot of the guys I played with, and a lot of funny memories and of the locker room stories. So it's always great to be in a locker room because it's just like it's a great smell and it's a great time. Like, and you remember this from your childhood days, driving around with these old buses in Germany. And hockey was not that big in that time in the 90s. So it grew a lot over the last years, and hockey got way better, especially with launching the DL in 1995. I think that helped a lot, the sport a lot to grow in Germany.
Yeah, and I think too now, like when you have, the big name players like Draisaitl, Stützle, Seider, like these guys coming from Germany and going over to North America and playing in the NHL and having such success, it gives, kind of the hope to all the young athletes now who are starting in hockey or thinking about starting in hockey that, hey, it's possible that could be me. Where, maybe when you were growing up, there wasn't as many people. Like I remember just one from the Colorado Avalanche in like '96. Obviously, was Uwe Krupp, right? This game-winning goal for the Stanley Cup. But it's funny you brought up the locker room thing. Like anyone I talk to, whenever they finish playing at whatever age they are, that's the thing they miss most. They miss the being in the locker room with the boys, like the chirping, the banter, every day there's just like laughter and stories before you get to work. And it's like, that's the thing they miss most. Obviously, they miss the games and the feeling of being in a game and the emotion stuff. But most people, it's the locker room stuff. So I can feel you there definitely. Um, Another question I had. So when you were done playing, like, did you pursue like did you go do a degree in like school or something in university? Like talk about maybe your background there.
Okay, so when I finished hockey, basically the thing was for me like to go to the Oberliga or play in the Bayern Liga at that time. And I made the decision to get my after my A level to get my apprenticeship in banking. So I was working 2 years at a bank, and I did my it's kind of comparable to community college, 2 years of education. And afterwards, I did my bachelor's degree also with the bank, and I got a postgraduate diploma with the English Business School in London. So that's it was also interesting for me just to get a little bit deeper into speaking more English. And and I was lucky when I was 17 years of age. I had the chance to be a summer for almost 2 months in Arizona, in Phoenix, and get a great billet family at that time. And that's where I got my English a little bit and maybe a little bit the American slight accent in here. And and there's a really close relationship to Arizona, specifically to Scottsdale, where I lived, and where it takes me back like every year. And kind of like I was a little bit sad last year when Arizona lost the Coyotes there. It was always great to watch games there. It was the only rink where you can get a seat every time because it was not full sold out. And the 60% of the crowd, I mean, 90% have been Canadians, which have been in Scottsdale, and we're driving all the way over to be in Glendale, and which was like 60 minutes away. So I'm kind of sad for the Valley that they lost the team there. So this is basically back to my background. And then I was like almost 15, 16 years working in a bank, doing corporate business there, basically for the corporate customers, like customers with up to turnarounds of half a billion. And at the end in a bank, I had my own brand, like my own branch, like which I was running with like 15 employees. And yeah, and then I got into this hockey thing here and more and more. And today I'm full self-employed in the hockey business. Still consulting companies like next to it with a buddy of mine, which is a former teammate. And so he's also a hockey guy, and he runs like his company, and they're doing like the big loans for big companies, helping people, restructuring big companies for getting before getting bankrupt and stuff like this. And so this is part of the things what I do. And on the other hand, there's the hockey biz.
Well, firstly, I'm going to comment on the Arizona Coyotes, Phoenix Coyotes, whatever you want to call them. That was my growing up my second favorite team. I'm obviously a Leafs fan by choice there with the Toronto area, but Coyotes, I love that old logo and even the one that they switched to for a couple of years. And I'm really sad that they couldn't make it work. So I'm hoping down the road they come back because I think it was a great place in the 90s. You know, there was lots of fans there. And then obviously at the end there, it kind of went a little downhill, but that logo brings back a lot of childhood memories for me. Um, and back like for you on the banking side, like I look at it too as like, you know, now looking back, you must have been like, you didn't know you were going to get into hockey at the time when you started working at these branches and eventually running your own branch. But now with what you do, it obviously was like a good prep for you and good experience for you to get used to all the finance things on that side that also come into like when you're dealing with contracts, when you're dealing with players and you know how to manage their finances or what to do after hockey, all that stuff. The first question I have, we talked about it off camera. You created Win-Win Sports in 2018. You were talking about maybe for those listening out there, like what all went into, you know, creating this brand, maybe the grind it took you to kind of the first couple of years because you got to obviously recruit players, recruit staff, and obviously build up your company brand overall.
I mean, it was like at that time I was running into a guy which already had a company which was called Win-Win Sports Marketing. And I was always talking about like we have to create a win-win situation for the player. And he said, "Hey buddy, like my company's name is Win-Win Sports Marketing. So why are we not calling the company or naming the company Win-Win Sports? Because this is actually what we wanted." At that time when we started, there was nothing about commission, advisory fees. We haven't talked about anything. Everything what we had both in mind was like, how can we help young kids to get the opportunity what we didn't have? So when I was a kid, like my biggest goal was to play in Canada, to play in the US. But as I said, raised by a single mom, not having the big money in the back, it was really tough to get in that situation. I remember when Franz Fitzmyer founded about the Bauer Junior Pioneers. I think it was back in the 90s. I got my name on that list, but my mom couldn't pay it, like because it was like close to like 25,000 Deutsche Mark at that time, which was really expensive to go overseas. So this was basically the thing which was driving me the most to help kids to get an opportunity, to get the opportunity to live their dream. And I was basically at the beginning looking for the kids from the second row, the kids which are like never become a DL player, the kids which will likely never play in the DL too. But there's so many opportunities because hockey in Canada, I mean, you're Canadian, like it's way bigger up there in Canada and the US, and there's so much more leagues than just like NCAA, NAHL, USHL. There's so many leagues below, and yes, there's a lot of more hockey players over there, but there's still the opportunity for Europeans to come over. And even if you don't make it at that time, was my suggestion to all these kids, after 1 year, you have a second family with the billet family. That's a huge opportunity and that's a lifetime experience, which will help you a lot, even in business later, or in your family life and building you as a human being. And also, you speak a different language. You get a different mindset. You see things different. And I mean, I think you have the same experience coming to Germany. So you have your North American part, and also you have your German views. Like you see things like Germans are seeing it because you're living so long here.
No, for sure. And one of the things that came to mind when you're like talking to me about that is obviously now, you know, a lot of European athletes are going over to North America because they would like to get a scholarship to NCAA or whatever it might be. And I always think about these kids and I'm like, they're doing this in a second language. Like, yes, you guys learn English in school growing up, so maybe there's a little bit more background, but still to do your schooling at a university level, and some of these schools, the universities are very hard, they're very pristine. Like to do it in a second language, like I don't think I could do that in German over here. Like I don't think I could go to school for 4 years and listen to that all day and try to learn in a second language. So I have a lot of respect for the athletes who end up doing that. And we talked about it off camera, like how now with the rules and the changes and everything, where all these athletes now can go that route and still, you know, before it was the OHL or NCAA or like with Europeans, it was a lot of kids had to play pro games because they were too good for the U20 level and that would screw them out of eligibility. But now that's all changed.
Well, the thing is, like when I look at the players, and we got a couple of kids now committed in the NCAA over the last years, got a couple of kids over. And I would still say like it's a very rare number of hockey players which can really make this because I tell the kids like when you go over, you have to play hockey in on a very high level in the USHL or in Canada if you play BCHL, or now it's changed to the CHL that you can play there as well and still make it to the NCAA with the new eligibility rules what you have. But you have to be a very good student and you have to be very, very structured to do this. Like I would say 70% of the kids can make it because you have to get everything under one roof. And I mean, we have to start like mans are having open problem like doing two things at the same time. So when it's like, and I tell this to kids all the time, like on an early age, when you really want to go to play in the NCAA, you have to start by by the age of like 14, 15 to go into that direction.
No, that's definitely true. Like it's now I think the kids have the more benefit though, where they don't have to have that choice. Yeah, so my next question for you, and I'm always curious about this, like someone who has their own agency, like what types of players are you looking to represent? Like, is there maybe like a criteria or certain characteristics that you look for in a player? Because obviously as an agent, like you don't always want to just take as many guys as possible and just have 200 guys, but you also want to make sure you have the right athletes that are representing, your brand and also you as an agent well, because at the end of the day, you're the one having to deal with the teams always and talk to them about the player, but also that reflects on you.
Well, it's a difficult thing. Like so, especially when you start founding an agency at the beginning, it's pretty difficult to get to the players to get the players licensed with you at the beginning because nobody knows you at the beginning. So that was like very difficult at the first time when I started because I basically started with these young kids from the second row to help them to get an opportunity to play overseas. And it turned out to get like the first young German talents. So and that's the thing, like you start with a small number of players and then you hope you get the recommendation by players. I mean, as you said, like Yannick was one of the first clients I had at the beginning on a really, really early stage when he was 16 years old. He came to us and yeah, we had a plan together where we want to go. Like right at the beginning, he said he wants to play in the Western Hockey League. So that was our basic goal to achieve. And I think like every player has an individual path, and it is always like the question if somebody comes to you at a young age, like as a junior player, as a midget player, Benton player, like it's the age like usually you say like 15 is a good age to recruit. But nowadays it changes so much that a lot of agents are taking kids in by 13, 12, 14. So you never know where it will take the kids. I mean, but you can make a plan for them for a couple of years in the future, and then you have the sorted pro players, like the pro players which are 25, 26, have been maybe with an agent before or several agents before, and they're seeking some different relationship because I tell everybody like every agent can basically do the same things because over the years you have the same contacts to the organizations. Even an NHL agent can't make the difference that somebody plays on an NHL roster or not. Like there's pretty less influence. Like I think it's a myth that a lot of people think that agents can have like a huge impact. The agent can have a huge impact on the player, can help him grow as a person. And the most important thing I think is for a player to have an agent in the back which is protecting you when something goes wrong. So when everything is like on the sunny side of life and you're having like your 80 points in the NHL, you're scouted in the first round, second pick overall. I mean, everything is running smooth. But then comes a time when something is like coming into your life you didn't expect. Like a couple of years ago, we had a player which called me and he was number 86 on Central Scouting and was a Czech national player. And he called me and said, Mark, I get diagnosed cancer. And that's a really emotional thing when I talk about this because that hit me really hard because the kid was just like 17 years of age, close to 18. And he told me his story and that he directly had to go to hospital and that was a wonderful time at that time. Like a lot of my players made a video to send the kid. Um, to tell them like you're not alone in this. Like we're all a big family, and everybody, even if you don't know you, we're there. And the interesting thing, and maybe I got a little bit off the transcript right now when I tell this, but the kid went back to play hockey 4 months later. And he hit the ice, and he's now playing in Czechia in the second league in Czechia. He was going back to play in the first Czechish league with Mountfield. So, and I think it helped him a lot. And that's what his mom said and what he said, like that so many players reached out to him and said, "You're not alone in that shit." So, but back to your question, I mean, at the end of the day, you want to have the best players on your roster. Like if you're an agent, you want to have the big names. But it's difficult. Like it's difficult to get all these players because everybody starts with somebody, and most of the players they keep loyal to their agent, and I like this and I appreciate this. Not one of these agents which is into stealing players from somebody because there's a lot of work in. If you do the job the right way and you have the kid when he's 15 or 16, there's a lot of work, like especially to get a kid drafted in the CHL. There's a lot of phone calls you have to make. It's not only that the kid is that good that he gets there. It's always the question if you're a first round NHL pick everybody calls you. But if you're not the first round NHL pick, it's a little bit more difficult. So you have to attract these people to look into somebody, and it's getting easier. Like if you had your first CHL draft and you're having your second CHL draft, you're having your fifth or sixth commitment to the NCAA, you get a better reputation when you make the calls and call the coaches and get the players in there. And also you can protect the players because not every organization is exactly doing what they tell you in the first call. And it's sometimes it's better to make a step back to instead of making a big step forward because sometimes it also means like you get less minutes, especially when you have the decision to play in the USHL when you're drafted. And sometimes maybe it's better to stay in the NAHL to get more minutes and to get ice time. It's the same thing when you play in Germany. As a young player, it's such a difficult decision. What are you doing? Signing a DL contract with all these U21, U24, U23 rules, or going to the Del 2 or starting in the Oberliga. And it's also like difficult, or you have to um, decide between if it's a goaltender or it's a forward or defender. Like so, and but I mean, you have been a goalie, so you know goalie is way more difficult to get to the pro hockey level.
No, I know that, and I also personally I want to say that I'm happy that that client of yours was able to get through that hard time for him and beat it and get back to the ice. And I'm happy that you had multiple, whether it's clients or friends of his, reach out and make those videos because, as you said, that's something that goes a long way and probably goes longer than a lot of people think it does. Like the simplest gestures mean so much, especially when someone's in a time of need. So happy to hear he's back playing. Back to like what you were just talking about there about the with the athletes and kind of like what level do I go to? And like I've had multiple guests on, whether it was coaches or players, and they've all said the same thing. And I think it's just our competitive nature these days is everyone wants to get to the highest level as fast as they can because they think that's the best for them. Obviously, there's exceptions out there where these young kids will get to the highest levels and play minutes. You know, like Tim Stutz on Mannheim, for example, obviously played minutes, got drafted, went to the NHL, and has had a great career so far. But most athletes, it's about development. It's about getting ice time and working on things. So there are a lot of, it doesn't matter if you're in Germany, if you're in North America, wherever you are, there's a lot of athletes out there that make the jump before they're ready and it ends up stunting their growth because they're not getting the ice time. They're, maybe they were a power play guy at the NAHL level and then they go to the USHL and they're on the third, fourth line, not getting that. And then it's not the same production. So I've always tried to recommend to the athletes out there, make sure you're dominating the level you're at before jumping to the next, or make sure you're going into a situation where you will get the proper development and slowly be rewarded with ice time, through your hard work and obviously trust from your coach, because that also allows you to, develop as yourself and improve your skills and eventually you will become one of those veteran guys down the road. But like sometimes it's just, kids are running before they can walk in a sense.
It's pretty much true. It's like the most important thing, what I tell the kids when I work with younger kids is patience. You have to be patient. When I look back, like last season, we had our first NHL draft. with the agency, which I did basically from the start by myself. And the point is really like when you start and you get over like to the US the first time. But it was um like the first big draft was the CHL draft a couple of years ago, basically with Yannick, and then we had a couple of players which have been on central scouting listed. So but none of them got drafted. And last year we had a kid like we had a plan with him on an early age, so we got him like committed at the age of close to 16 with UMass Amherst, which helped us a lot because it gave us a lot of marketing, especially for a kid from Switzerland and a goaltender. So in goaltender is a little bit more difficult, as you know. And then we started like we got him drafted and at the age of 17 with the USHL. Um, and that was like the next big step for him. But he stayed another year in Switzerland to finish his A level, which was very important to the parents. Basically, it was not too good for us because like he stayed in Switzerland and he was only allowed to play junior hockey because of the NCAA eligibility rules because the rules changed a little bit later on. And then was last year, it was funny, like the first draft that was part of was basically in Las Vegas. So that was like a really nice thing in that city, in the sphere with like close to 18,000 people, and it was really really busy for me because when you do this the first time, and we had our NHL partner and my NHL agent, he couldn't come at the draft because his parents have been in hospital both. So I was basically out of a sudden on my own at the NHL draft, and so it was really interesting. I mean, I remember when Chris got drafted in the fourth round. I mean, we basically planned that Washington is going to draft us because they told us like we're going to draft them in the fourth round, and then Washington got another goaltender, and it was like fuck. And me and my player, we were both arguing with each other like that we're better than the other guy, and then everybody around us was like, "Hey guys, you're drafted." And it was the San Jose Sharks. So and it took us both like I think 30 seconds to realize it like, and it was a big thing. Like even if it's the first round, and it was an interesting thing for myself. Like when I remember I was a kid, like my biggest dream was to play in the NHL. And then I quit hockey on an early age. And then you get back at the age of 42, and you're in the sphere at the NHL draft, and you're drafting your first client to the NHL. I think that's a huge thing. Like, I mean, being in the box with the San Jose Sharks, like drinking a Dr. Pepper there, and then going to the pool of the Venetian Hotel and celebrating this the whole afternoon with a lot of other players was a great experience last year.
No, everyone remembers, their first, and I think anytime one of your athletes can be even recognized by the NHL, but let alone drafted, I mean that's something that obviously feels good for them, but obviously feels good for you because you've been a part of them for that journey and help them, achieve a goal on their list, which obviously as a lot of young athletes in hockey is just to get drafted to the NHL. Um, I'm curious, like for the listeners out there, like when we're like during the season, like we're in, October, November, December kind of here, like what does a typical week look like for you as an agent?
And like October, November is not that stressful like it is usually in the summer months when you have to get all the contracts. At that time, you have basically the time to visit the players, go for the games, visit them in the training, go for a steak with them. But it's still within the season, the most time you spend is on the young guys. You have the young guys on the phone, you have the parents on the phone, you give them advice, you listen to them. Majorly, it's about like, I don't have enough ice time. That's for the young kids which are playing in pro hockey. They're always complaining about playing on the fourth line, not getting like the big minutes on the first and the second line. But it's also a lot about self-reflection. It's like it's so hard because if you play yourself and everybody which played himself, you want to play and you want to have as much minutes as possible. And you see yourself basically better than you are because you don't have this outside view on yourself. So, and a typically week like looks for me like that. I mean, I'm doing my other job a little bit in the consulting business, so I have more time for these things. but I'm a little bit more relaxed and chill to have the guys on the phone when something is going wrong. And but you still have trades within the season, guys which are not happy, guys which are still like free agent at the end of October, November, which haven't found a job before or didn't want to sign something. So basically, it can be busy 24/7. Um, it really depends on how you do the business. But I tell everybody, if you want to go to the agency business and if you want to do it, you're 24/7 sometimes. You're 24/7 sometimes. If you have your longtime clients, then it can be that you talk on the other day instead of like calling him back 5 minutes later, and you don't have to do this anymore. But it's way more relaxed than I would say it's like May, June, and July.
No, and like anyone out there would know this, and this is one of the things I've seen over here in Europe that might be a little different from North America is, the sport business itself is 24/7. And obviously, at times in Europe, for example, like they have the way that they live and they're very everything is about their life, like enjoying life, having a good time. Like Sundays are the calm days, the Ruhetage, as they say in German, and that's something that for me over here in the sports world, you got to adjust to because you're in their country. It's their it's kind of their rules and the way they go, and obviously they have a good way of living over here. That's why I've stayed in Germany forever. But as you said, you have to be as an agent, as someone working for a team. The phone's got to always be there. You got to be ready to pick it up if someone calls. And at the end of the day, I mean, I always tell people like working in hockey, like yeah, you have long days, you have long hours, but I mean, for me, it beats that, sitting at a normal desk job from 9 to 5. And I'd rather have to answer a call at 8 o'clock at night and talk hockey or talk a plan with a coach or talk to an agent, whatever it might be. So, um, I was wondering too, like kind of with your agency there, like, you have that financial background that you started in before getting into the agency business. Like, do you obviously offer financial advice to your players, your athletes, and do you have something where maybe you try to set them up for life after hockey? Because obviously, us as hockey players, we wish we could play forever, but that's not unfortunately not the case. It's a ticking clock, and when hockey's done, these guys, they need to have a plan to what to do next.
Oh, well, it's like it's a big thing. Like the earlier, I think the earlier you start thinking about it, like what you're doing after hockey, the way better. Like and there's so many players, and I think you played with so many guys, they're playing 37, 38, 39, and they can't stop because the love for the game is so big on the one hand, and they don't know what else should I do if I quit hockey. And so I think it's really important. So what we're doing at Win-Win Sports, we're trying to set the players up and set them up for life. What are you doing after? Like there's a couple of guys, like specifically Canadians, Americans, they're doing like their firefighter classes, and a couple of the players are getting into coaching. And the good thing for me now is like with having like this 8 years on the back, or almost 8 years on the back, being in the agency business, 7, 8 years. There's the first guys which are going to retire or already retired. One guy just became an AHL coach. The other guy is now in Färjestad, is a goalie coach. Another guy gets a goalie coach. Another guy is getting to Mannheim. For example, Cherry Kuhn, when I see him, like he's going to junior hockey, and you can really see he loves it. He has so much love for the game, and that he obviously stays in the business and wants to stay in the business after his last season. But it's so important to make that decision at the right time, and also like to give your time frame when you want to stop, because I feel sad for a lot of players which are still playing at the age of 41 or 42 because they have to. And we have these kind of players out there. Even when you look to Czechia and see guys like Jaromir Jagr, which obviously still has to play, and this is kind of sad because like he has a tremendous career, like he's one of the best ever, which played the game, and the best hairstyle in the business. um everybody knows it from the upper deck cards back in the days. And so I think it's really important, and I'm happy when players make the decision to take the NCAA route, to go to college, because this is somebody nobody can take away from you. You have an education, and it's always like the thing, and it is everybody has to put this in his mind, like hockey can be over out of a sudden. You can get a bad injury. on the ice, off the ice, and the game is over. And you're sitting in a wheelchair when you have a car accident or when you have like an accident, what we have seen like the last 2 years, which was happening in Germany with young players, and it's really sad to see these things, and players have to be aware of this. They have to be aware that there is a life after hockey, and it's like, how do you say this in English? Like, it's a privilege. It's a privilege to stand up every morning and to hit the ice. It's a privilege to be in the locker room. It's a privilege to live that life. Like a lot of these players, they never worked in a normal job on a desk, like you said. And basically, the thing is, like, I worked at a desk, and I can also say, like, I maybe made more money on my desk job, but right now I'm doing a business I love. And also I see it as being an agent, you can give back. You can give it back to young athletes, you can give it back to young players, to teach them something about life, because the greatest lesson for me was the locker room. The locker room, hockey in an early childhood age, the discipline you learned with this game, and it builds you for life. It helps you so much in a normal life out there. But I think everybody sees it different. But doing something while you're playing is smart. Even if you're a DL player and you make 150K a year plus minus, go to college, do evening lessons, do something that you're prepared for a life after hockey. And don't start with it when you're 35. Start with it like when you're 21, 20, 22. Because I remember doing my postgraduate diploma, which is basically an MBA in the UK, at the age of like 34. And I was so bad in learning. I hated it. Like, so I wanted to have the degree, but I didn't like to learn. And I think if you're 15 years a pro hockey player and then you have to start learning again, this is really difficult.
No, you're absolutely right. Like I don't obviously I graduated college, I have my degree, but I look at people now who like have played 10 years like you said and then go back and I'm like I don't know how you guys do that. Like that takes tremendous discipline. Like I don't want to do school again. Like I did it already and we had a guy last year in our or the past 2 years on our team who was doing his masters while playing pro in Mannheim. So like you look at those guys and you're like wow, like good for you. Like, you know, you're thinking about life after hockey and there's so many of these young athletes like it's funny being in the room with them every day and I'll talk to them and they're like, "Oh, like what are you doing today?" And I'll explain and they're like, "Oh, that doesn't sound good." And I'm like, "Man, I wish I knew what I knew now when I played. Like I would have definitely worked harder like off the ice and maybe in practice to prolong my playing career because, you know, I'm grateful for what I do, but it doesn't beat playing professional hockey for a living. And I try to influence a lot of people saying that, like, hey, like enjoy it while it lasts. Like, don't take it for granted because, like you said, it something can happen, or you know, if you have a bad season, it could turn your career over and upside down. And you know, you never know when it's gonna end. Like, just enjoy the ride, but at the same time, like, make sure you have a or you're at least thinking about a plan for after hockey because it goes by quick. You know, these young kids on our team right now, Yannick, for example, you know, whatever he is, 21, 22 years old, he's going to blink and one day he'll be 30. So it
Or
goes by
35
quick.
like you.
What?
Or 35 like
Or
you.
35
So
like me.
43 like me. So life goes so fast, and it's the same thing that carry what you have as a hockey player. And really depends, like if you played in the NCAA, it's a little bit shorter, but it's basically 10, 12, maybe 15 years. Like it's a limited number of time. Like what do you have like to live that dream and enjoy it and have a blast, and but always know that you're privileged and give back. So it's also so important. Like what I tell the guys is like if there's a chance to help anybody or if you make good money, give back. It's so important to give back, even if it's just a signature on a jersey, if it's giving a stick to a little boy, kid, or giving a puck. But I mean, it's like I can only speak for the hockey family. I think like every hockey player is doing a great job in that field. Like I think that really speaks for our business and for the culture what we have. I it's so funny always like when I have calls in the United States or in Canada and you talk with people, the hockey world is so fucking small. It's so fucking small. Like I remember I was in San Diego in it was like in May for a wedding of a buddy. And another agent called me and said, "Hey, Mark, maybe you can help a coach in the US, so basically a guy from Canada, and you can give him a call." And I called the guy. and it was Bobby Dallas, which played with the Anaheim Ducks. And he said, "Hey, buddy, like it must be really late with you in Germany." I said, "No, I'm in the US." And he's like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "San Diego." And he's like, "Fuck, no way. Like, I'm in Oceanside." And I say, "Hey, I'm in Carlsbad." So we met on the next morning and then we had breakfast together. So, and that was really, really funny. Like, so it was a really funny moment. And so the world is pretty small, like, and you can meet the people everywhere. And he knew a lot of people I know, and vice versa. And it was like really interesting. And the funny note about this meeting was, I watched my first NHL game back in 1998 with the Anaheim Ducks, and he played on the ice. And then we had this conversation 27 years later on a breakfast by the first meeting. So that's crazy insane. Like, and this can only happen in hockey.
No, it's whether it's you know the person or somebody they know somebody you know or vice versa. Like the hockey world is so small. You say a name and I guarantee you in a room full of 10 people, somebody has played with them, knows them, best friend knows them, whatever it might be, seen them at a wedding. So like it's incredibly small, and that's about I think the greatness of the game too in terms of building connections and keeping in touch with people over the years and building a reputation because obviously that's very important when it comes to you as an athlete as well as what you do after hockey if you want to stay involved in the sport is obviously the connections and reputation you've built up over the years or word of mouth. So um, I got two more questions for you. Obviously, we've been going at this for about an hour right now. What's like kind of the future plans for Win-Win Sports? Like, do you have maybe like a 5 year, 10 year goal that or something in your head that you see the brand going?
Well, the thing is, like, my biggest goal was basically to get the NHLP license once. So that was a basic goal. I mean, I did my DL license a couple of years ago. I have my PHPA license with the American Hockey League now since guess 4 years. So, and I got the papers with the NHLPA on the desk since a while. So I just have to find the time to do it. It's a couple of pages you have to fill out and you have to turn in. So that would be the next step. I mean, the dream of the NHLP license was a little bit bigger a couple of years ago. Right now, I have my NHL partner in North America, so I basically would not need it. But it's still kind of a goal to get a little bit closer to the NHL, maybe getting one or two players signed there once. So it's an interesting thing for the future, and it's not too far away. But the goal is like to grow the agency by a couple of more agents, um, bring in a couple of people which do like financial consulting, insurance stuff. Like we have our partners already, which are doing this just to give the players a full package, to give the players a full package on consulting, especially also the text things. Somebody's helping them with the texts with a text guy, which helps them. Like there's a lot of things you can do. It's not only about hockey. There's a lot of things more. And so the goal is like still like we want to grow, we want to get bigger, and but we don't want to lose the fun, like the fun and the excitement for the game. That's the most important thing. I just don't want to do it for only for the business. I just also want to do it like for making a good living, but also having fun and doing it for because you love the game, you love to work with these players. I mean, basically you have to love it, like because it's so much time. Like sometimes you get crazy calls by players, crazy questions, like you're on holiday and you get a question like, "Holy shit, what is he asking right now?" And you're trying to make it possible. And I think everybody does it a little bit different, but I think if you do it the right way, you're building a close relationship with the guys.
No, I 100% agree. Building that relationship and obviously being, fully invested into it, but also enjoy what you're doing because at the end of the day, it's a unique business and you're going to have more success if you're doing something you love. I think that's in regards to being a player, being a coach, being an agent, even, being somebody who works a normal job. Like you want to do something that you enjoy and want to put the effort into because that's something that you're going to be doing for the next couple of years or even longer. So, last one for you here. I always end on this one. What is one piece of advice or multiple pieces of advice you would give the younger generation out there? So if you're speaking to young athletes out there right now, what is one or multiple pieces of advice you would give them?
No, the biggest advice I would give young people is like be patient, be patient. Um, Find people and surround yourself with people, specifically when you look for an agent where you have a good feeling, like that this is a person you want to have a relationship for the next couple of years. The person should have a plan with you, and it should be basically a similar plan to the plan what you have. And trust the process. Trust the process. Don't listen to too many people because the day you're getting better, the day you're getting on all the scouting lists, so many people will talk to you. Keep your circle small. Keep your circle small and trust the people. Trust the people and stay loyal. Like that's the most or the biggest advice what I have in that business because that business is fucking dirty. So if somebody is scouting you an early age, an agent, and he's doing a lot of things for you, stay loyal. Stay loyal to him because the work, what is he putting in behind the back, behind the doors, what you don't see, the effortless calls, putting your name out, talking to people even when they're not interested in you. Like give this person a shot. Like this is important, and also like it's so important to um, yeah, have this persistence, this grind, like work hard, and the most important thing for the young generation is like do the little things right. Do the little things right. Do the things right which are under your control. It's not under your control if the coach is giving you 20 minutes ice time, if he's giving 14 minutes ice time to you. But what is definitely under control if you get to the pro level? Shut up, work hard, be at the rink on time, be kind, be nice to the equipment manager. He's the most important person in the locker room. Respect him. That's something what I tell all my players is like this is like a person which is the heart and soul of the locker room, and don't be arrogant. And everything will work out if you work hard. But if you get the little things right, everything comes at its time.
Yeah, 100%, 100% agree. Like, couldn't have said it better. I think doing the little things, having the right attitude, being persistent, trusting the people that you trust and have, earned your trust over the years and, enjoy the ride too. And obviously treat everyone right. So I think, you nailed a lot of points there. I'm happy we finally got to do this. Happy we got
Me
to
too.
nail down some time together. And, yeah, I guess I'll be seeing you, around the rinks this year at some point.
Hopefully, definitely. I think we see us in Mannheim in the next interview we do in German.
Sure. Episode two, part two will be in German. That sounds good.
Perfect. That sounds like a plan. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for it. And I think we're meeting us basically in August or September in the rink.
For
And
for
have a
sure.
great preseason. And say hi to Yannick.
I will tell Yannick tomorrow that we got this. You need to tell Jerry Kuhn he needs to. We've been kind of like you. I've been playing phone tag with this guy for a long time to get him on here because he obviously has had a long, tremendous career and is going into his last year, I believe. So hopefully I can get that down with him. And for anyone listening out there, looking for whether it's an agent, advice, financial advice, you name it. Obviously, Win-Win Sports been doing good at what they've been doing. And Mark is someone that I can honestly say I see around in the rink all the time. Honestly, too much. His face is just plastered in my brain. But that's the guys you want. So I'm happy they took the time. Follow them on social media. Go take a look at their website. And yeah, until next week, choose and ciao.